Today I'll be walking you through Intely's form-based scheduling feature set and how to leverage those features to allow your audience to directly book with you. So I'm going to start out here on the dashboard, and you can see a scheduling demo form that I've already created. This has a scheduling widget on it already, but to go ahead and go through the configuration pieces, we're going to go ahead and start with the scheduling module down here on the left. So when I'm taken into the scheduling module, I can see the components that will make up my schedule, and I can go ahead and build those out. So starting with the personnel, I can go ahead and build out my provider here. I'm going to go ahead and some information. Dr. Moore. Dr. Moore works at the West Side Satellite Clinic. That is in a rural area outside of the main town, and he works in internal medicine. And to make this a little bit more personal, I'm going to go ahead and upload an image. Dr. Moore. And I can go ahead and add to this list. Now, if I needed to make any adjustments, say I needed to take out a clinic or add a clinic to one of the bios here, I can just edit, and that pulls up the same pop-up where I can edit that information as needed. I'm going to go ahead and say cancel. And let's go ahead and look and make sure that this West Side Satellite Clinic is built out. So we can do that by going over to the locations. And once I'm in the locations, I can see the clinics that I've already built out. These are all in the New York or Eastern time zone, but I don't see that West Side Satellite Clinic. So I'm going to go ahead and build that out now. And all I need to do that is go ahead and say the West Side, give it a name. I can give it a time zone. I'm going to leave this as is for now. And then I can go ahead and give this a description if I want to, but I'm going to go ahead and leave this blank for today. And then I'll go ahead and add. And now that I have my personnel and locations built out, I can go ahead and start building those calendars for Dr. Moore. So if I wanted to go ahead and create that calendar for Dr. Moore, I'm going to come up here to the top and say add new. So I can free text in a name for this calendar. The naming convention I typically go with is the personnel name at the location. So this is Dr. Moore at West Side Satellite Clinic. And I can go ahead and add those some information in these drop downs. And now I can go ahead and add the effective dates for this calendar. And this, I'm going to go ahead and backdate this to the beginning of 2022. And this calendar is going to sit out there for a while, so I'm going to give it a end date way in the future. Now to go ahead and start building the schedule out, I have to select the days that Dr. Moore is going to be working at Westside Clinic. So I can go ahead and we'll say he's working Monday, Thursday, and Friday. And I can see those dates pop into the standard schedule. I can go ahead and start building the time intervals that are going to fall into these days. So Monday, we have in 9 to 1, 30-minute slots. If I wanted to go ahead and give these slot durations a custom number, I can do that through this field here. Say he's working the morning in 20-minute intervals, and go ahead and put 20 in there. And let's say Thursday, he works mornings and afternoons. So I'm going to go ahead and say 9 to 11 a.m. Give these 30-minute slots. And now I need to add the afternoon. So I can put multiple instances underneath a singular day by just clicking this add interval again. And from here, I can go ahead and say 12 p.m. to, let's go ahead and say 4. All right, and let's finish this up by adding Friday in, and Friday is going to be a short day. It's going to be starting at 8. Now we can go ahead and move down to these lower portions. So I've got a time zone here that is unselectable, dithered out. So this time zone is inherited from the location that has been selected here at the top. So Westside Satellite Clinic is in the Eastern time zone. So we've already selected the America, New York there. This identifier field gives me the ability to set up an HL7 feed for my scheduling messages to be ingested by Intely. So what would happen here is I would give it an identifier. So let's go ahead and just use the doctor's initials with the location initials. So Russell Moore, Westside Satellite Clinic, excuse me. Now in an HL7 message that gets sent over, if this identifier is matched, the slot that has been booked in that message will now show as blocked on this calendar. The appointment hold days. So this value is the number of days that I want to allow this pending appointment to sit out there before it's released. So when, I'll show this later on, but when someone responds to the form and books that slot, we do reserve that slot from the calendar, but that slot is not actually booked in the EMR scheduling tool. So what needs to happen is the facility staff will work that submissions list and they will put those in to the system. If they do not put those into their scheduling system by this value here, then that slot that has been booked by the patient will automatically be released to the public and another patient can book that up. So I'm going to go ahead and say 3 days. So that gives me 3 days from the time that the submission has been entered to go ahead and book that slot out to that patient before that slot is auto released back to the rest of my patient population. My resource pool, this is another identifier field that will map to the scheduling resource. I'm just going to go ahead and say 1 here. And this restricts same day bookings for X hours prior to scheduling. This allows me the ability to say, I don't want to allow patients to book with this provider for X amount of hours from when they're trying to book. So if I want to give my providers a full day to review any charts or anything like that prior to seeing the patient, I want to go ahead and set this to 24 hours. And having this set at 24 hours prevents my responders to my form from booking out a slot that would fall into that interval. So to go ahead and finish this up, I'm going to select add. And I can see that calendar for Dr. Moore at Westside Satellite Clinic in my table. So this last tab here isn't related to building a calendar, but rather to blocking off a set amount of time for a calendar. So the example here would be, say Dr. Moore is going on vacation for a week. He's going to leave on the 22nd and get back on the 28th, but we want to go ahead and block all that time off. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and say add new and select Dr. Moore from my personnel dropdown, and I'll select Westside Satellite Clinic for my location dropdown. And we said that he'll be gone from the 28th. We'll go ahead and say 8 a.m. to the 28th. And we'll go ahead and set this to 5 p.m. So any slots that are shown to responders of this form that would fall into this interval will show as booked. So I'll go ahead and add that. I can see that block out here. If I needed to extend that or edit that at all, I can do that, or say the vacation gets canceled for whatever reason, I can go ahead and cancel that block, but we're going to leave that out there. So I'll go ahead and navigate back to my dashboard and show you how to configure this from the form perspective inside the builder. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the scheduling demo form. When I do that, I can go ahead and see a scheduling widget that I've already configured here. So if we take a look at this real quick and just see how this is configured, I can see here on the right that I've got calendars that are populating into this widget. If I drop this down, I can go ahead and see the calendars that are being populated into this widget. Now, since this is a satellite campus for Westside, we're going to go ahead and put that on its own widget and split that out. So we won't select that. If I look here at my location and personnel labels, I can see that these are free text that I can add and change as needed to be more appropriate for my users. Another thing to point out here is these lists for location and personnel, which we'll show here in a second, are being populated off of the values that relate to these calendars. So if I go ahead and drop down location, I can see East, North, South Side clinics here. I can also see this any. So this is a value that Intely automatically adds to the list here that allows me to pull in any personnel from the calendars that have been associated. If I wanted to go to a specific clinic, I could do that and see a more trimmed down list. So like I mentioned before, since Dr. Moore is at a satellite campus, we're going to go ahead and split out that schedule into its own widget. So I'll just come down here and grab the scheduling widget and add it into my form. And like I showed on the other widget, all I need to do to go ahead and start populating this is find the calendar that I want associated here. So these four are all in the other widget. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab this Russell Moore Westside Satellite Clinic calendar and pull that in. And I can see here the only values available here are the ones related specifically to this calendar. So let's go ahead and take a look at this from the form perspective. If I come out here, refresh this, yep, most up-to-date version. I can see that clinic prefix, pretext label that I've given. I can also see that standard location label that it automatically is assigned here. So if I go ahead and look at Westside Satellite Clinic for Dr. Moore, I see that schedule pulled in. Say I want to go ahead and schedule something out for either late this week or early next week. I can't click on these days. See that calendar is booked up. Go ahead and select Monday. I can see that calendar is booked up. But if I go ahead and flip over here to this Friday, I can see all these slots available. I can select the one that's most appropriate for me. And the reason why the 22nd and the 25th were both full is because we went ahead and put that appointment block in there. So I can go ahead and book that out. Say I want the 29th at 2:30. And if I launch it or refresh this form, I can go ahead, say, come back to the 29th. I can see that 2:30 slot is dithered out and no longer selectable. So what we've got here, if I go ahead and navigate back to my dashboard, I can see the submissions list. And what we recommend is utilizing this submissions list for your scheduling form like a work list. So your values are going to flow here. We can set up email alerts, notifications whenever submissions happen. And users can come in here and go ahead and say, okay, so I can see Eastside Clinic, Jesse Miles, July 22nd, and schedule this out. So once I would schedule this out into the source system, I can go ahead and mark that as reviewed. And I'll know that that's completed. So the good thing about having this reviewed option here is, say I'm jumping in and I don't know what's done and what's not done, what I need to do for today. So I can go ahead and filter this list down to just unreviewed and go ahead and schedule this out. So I can go ahead and take this Westside Satellite Clinic with Dr. Moore appointment and schedule that out for July 29th, 2022 from 2:30 to 3:30. Schedule that. Markers review. And that is Intely's form-based scheduling feature set.